Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. All right, everybody. I am joined by everyone's favorite medium and everyone's favorite mentor. It is Miss Danielle Anatra. I always want to say Sinatra, but Anatra is just as cool. Hey, welcome back.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. Now, everyone knows that you're a medium and a mentor. For people who never heard your show, can you introduce yourself? Tell them what that means and what you do.
Sure. So I'm Danielle Anatra. I do mediumship readings, psychic readings, and I also motivate. Well, I do motivate people, but I also mentor people with any kind of psychic or mediumship development if they want to enhance or grow or learn about their gifts, and mindset mentoring too, just to help you stay more in a positive vibration and things like that. I do like life mentoring when it comes to that too. So I love what I do.
Yeah, no doubt. And you have two different places you work from, but you can also help people virtually, right?
Yes, I help people virtually right now. I have an office on Long Island in Massapequa, New York, and I also have a space here in Henderson, Nevada.
Okay. Where's Henderson?
Henderson is like 20 minutes from Vegas.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like 20 minutes from like the Vegas Strip, which is really cool because I like to go there on the weekends with my family and stuff. I always
Yeah.
feel like I'm on vacation. So
All right.
it's fun.
All right. Well, you got a great topic for us today, but before we get there, maybe you can tell people who should really be paying attention right now, because those are the people that you can really help that need you.
Right. So the people who I generally work with are people who really want to grow their gifts or learn about their psychic or mediumship gifts. Okay. Those are people who I mentor, and the people who I resonate with mostly for readings is, people who need some kind of intuitive guidance, or people who lost a loved one or lost someone close to them that they maybe want to connect with, people who have, um, unsolved things with that maybe they want to speak to, or people they just want to know that they're okay, they're in spirit, and that they're around them and they're okay.
Okay. All right. Now, your topic for today is how emotional trauma can lead to physical disease. And that's
Mhm.
something so interesting because I believe like stress can do that too, right?
Absolutely. Stress is an emotion, stress is a vibration, and so is emotion. Like, any kind of emotional disease has a vibration or frequency to it. So, if you're happy, obviously it's going to, do good things for your body and for your physical. But if you're sitting in anger or resentment or not letting stuff go, that eventually is going to accumulate and it could cause physical disease in your body. There's a big difference between emotional disease and physical disease. So I'll give you an example. When I had my first baby, I got an epidural, and I chose, that's my karmic decision. Karma could be good or bad, but I signed my life away to say that it was okay for me to have an epidural.
What's an
And
epidural?
an epidural is like a big needle that they put in your back to kind of numb you from the waist down.
Okay.
Okay. So, they're like kind of intertwining it between your spine. So, a lot of damage could happen. A lot of things could happen there. So you have to sign that you're
Right.
okay and you're aware of, whatever. So I signed my life away, and they messed up my epidural. And ever since I had my son, I have very bad lower back pain
Oh,
that, it'll come and go. But I have very bad lower back pain. Usually, an emotional trigger for lower back pain is people who have lower back pain could have some kind of issue around money and survival. That's like the spiritual concept of it. Okay. So I always used to have that like growing up. So I always associated it with that. But then once I fixed that, like emotionally within myself, I still had this pain, but that was the physical pain. So I will experience sometimes that lower back pain because of something that I karmically chose to do. So we make karmic decisions for ourselves too. So I actually have like a physical dis-ease. And and that's where all of that comes from. So so some of them could be emotionally triggered and some of them are just, karmic decisions we make.
So
If we decide to go ahead.
so
I'm sorry.
when you mean it seems like this was nothing that you did to have the epidermal take a different route and not be successful. It seemed like these things happen in the medical, but you're saying it's something that you did?
Well, I didn't have to get it. I made the decision to, and I made a karmic decision to have one and, knowing the risks, and that happened. So it is what it is. I made that karmic decision. So sometimes that things just like it's karma if you chose to have children, like that's good karma, like you make that decision, but you're also making certain sacrifices as a parent, like things that you might not be able to jump and do like you used to before you had children. Like, there's always karmic decisions that we make, and karma could be good or bad, but
What
we
about
create a lot of that.
what about if you chose not to take the epidermal and something happened during the birth? Would that be a karmic decision too?
I would say yes because I chose to have a child. So there's always decisions and choices to make.
Hmm.
And for an example, like an emotional dis-ease, I'll share with you. So my husband, I believe I said it on one of the shows that he got diagnosed with brain cancer about
Yeah.
12 years
Yeah,
ago.
yeah, yeah.
And when this happened to him, I mean, he was 30 or 31, I think, when this happened. And so he gets diagnosed with this, and I found my first mentor, Pat Longo, and I called her, and she had a full consultation with us. And we were telling her, and she was telling us how emotional disease could cause a physical disease. So my husband's pretty much like an open book, and he's like, I don't know, nothing really is bothering me. There's nothing that happened in my past. And mind you, my husband was an atheist when I first met him. So it was, he didn't believe in anything, but he was willing to try anything because he was scared when this all happened. And he called, and at the time, like, my son was about a year old, and my mentor said to him, he's like, well, what traumatic happened to you when you were younger? And he said when he was younger, he was riding bikes with a few of his friends. I think he was either like 11 or 14 or something like that. And when they were riding bikes, one of his friends got hit by a car and killed,
Oh, wow.
and he kind of like watched that happen. So it was very traumatic, but he didn't think like he carried it with him, because sometimes these like memories could and these emotions could kind of sit dormant and you don't think they're bothering you. And then what happened was she said, well, she goes, do you have any kids? And he goes, yeah, I have a son. And she goes, could it be that, the idea of you having your son kind of brought back like these memories that makes you worried about your son? And of course he's like, no, probably not. Like it never
Hmm.
doesn't bother me, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, well, let me ask you a question. She said, how long did the doctors estimate that the tumor's been growing? And he's like, they said about a year. And she's like, well, how old is your son? And he said, one. So everything, like, you see how everything kind of just the timelines just really
It,
made sense for us. And he was able to kind of work through it after that. But sometimes we don't even realize these things are bothering us. Like we get emotionally upset with somebody and we kind of like end the relationship with them in a way. And then we don't think about it. We don't think anything's bothering us. But then when we're hit with the same kind of emotion years later, it's like kind of like accumulating and festering, all these emotions and festering, and it can turn into something much bigger. So a lot of times these things sit dormant with us.
wow. What are some other situations where I mean, the mental might affect our physical?
Oh my God, all the time. Like think about it. That's why people say affirmations and do things like that, because you're trying to retrain your brain to think more positively or be on like a more of a high vibrational plane. That's what we're trying to do. That's why it pays to like be happy and kind of be, sit in gratitude every day and, be thankful for the things that, we do have. We're always going to have things that happen,
Mm.
that we're going to experience these emotions because we're human beings, but it's important to always stay in a very high vibration. If you're saying to yourself every day, like how you speak to yourself is energy and it's vibration and goes right into the universe. If you're saying like, oh, I suck, or I can't do this, or I can't do that, or I'm no good, you're going to start to believe that after a while. That
Mm.
accumulation of energy, you're going to begin to believe that. The music we listen to, the television that you watch, like think about anything that you watch like on a daily basis that's constantly in your energy field. Your vibration and frequency changes when you walk into your home. Some people don't even want to go home at night, because they're not happy with their husband or their wife or their kids or their situation or whatever it is.
Right.
And that really, it plays on you after a while. People always say you become who you hang out with, you become who you're around, and to a degree that's right. And if you don't feel like you're vibing with a certain group, like you could either sit in it and become it, or you could do something different.
Right.
So people have to change their situations. That's where karma comes into play too.
Going back to your husband and his health situation,
Mhm.
um, is there anything that he chose for that to happen? How did that happen to him? I mean, a young guy and
I know, like I said before, this is just what I believe. I
yeah,
believe that, um, I believe that it was a trigger from his childhood and the fear of possibly losing a son or something like that because of something that happened to him. So I really feel like it was caused emotionally by that energy kind of, festering and accumulating.
but it was something he
And
saw and didn't happen to him though.
mhm, it's something he saw that could happen.
It could have
And we
happened to
don't
him.
know, it could happen, and we don't know how our brains process
Yeah,
that. Like,
right. Yeah.
the other two kids were he was with, like,
How were
I
they?
don't know if they have children now or not, but I mean that didn't happen to them, but it affects everybody differently in
Right.
different kind of ways. But if you think about it too, I do feel like, you know, these decisions we make, like if it wasn't for, we always say that my husband getting diagnosed with brain cancer was a gift
Because
because
he would
we
have never went.
learned
He sounds like a guy that is not going to run to the doctor. He sounds like he's
he
going to be
will go to
quiet.
the doctor if he needs to, but he doesn't run. You're right.
Okay.
And, and when I met him, he was an atheist. He didn't believe in anything really. He was just like typical sports politics, typical dude. And he didn't believe in anything bigger. And I was always like interested in psychics and stuff. And he'll be like, oh, you're crazy, blah, blah, blah. Like I would always get made fun of in a playful way,
Who's
but I would always
laughing
get made
now?
fun of. Yeah, and now, like, if that didn't happen to him, and if we didn't go through that and experience and learn from that whole situation, I would have never stepped into my gift when I did.
Oh,
Might have did it like later in life, like something else like would have
interesting.
maybe happened where I would have like had the decision to go down that road,
So the universe
but I
might have
wouldn't.
known he was going to meet you, and
Right.
and
And it
when
all kind of made sense. And when I said to him, I said, I really, I feel like this, something's happening to me, something's going on. I'm like, he's going to think I'm crazy, but he was actually just so supportive, and he made fun of me a little bit, but he was so, he was very supportive. And now he's just like,
as
he
two best
wanted to.
friends will do.
Yeah, that's true. And he wanted to understand me. So, he's all like he was all left brain, math and science, like prove it. Like freaking prove it because I can, I can. So I said, so now he started,
He
like
wasn't a
he
coach
understood I
by
was
any chance, was he?
what?
He wasn't a
Would
coach
you
by any chance, was he?
no, he wasn't. But but he says to me, he goes, I really want to understand like what you're going through, and I can. And I wasn't at a point where I could prove it to him because I was just learning.
Right.
And he said to me, he's like, I really want to understand you. So I always call him the bottomless pit of useless information because all he does is like watch documentaries, and not that that's useless
No,
information,
no, no.
but
It's a
he just
talent. It's Cliff
just
Clavin.
knowledge, loves knowledge, and reads and does, he loves all that. So I used to
Yeah.
come home from like a meditation class or something like that. It would be like 9, 10 o'clock at night, and he would fall asleep with the TV on, and I would see a documentary about psychics. And another time I would come in, he was watching something on astrology and numerology, which is all math and science based. So it's
Yeah.
all like proven things and like crystals and, and stuff like that. And I would watch him watching all of these documentaries. And when I would come home and I shut the TV and I'm like, it just really made me feel good knowing that he's really trying to get it. Like,
That's
he's trying to
awesome.
watch the left brain part of everything. And now he is just like, he meditates every night. He reads his books. He has, like, it really changed him. Like, I can't even remember the last time he put on a sports game or watched the news or, he really goes by how he feels and things like that. So it really changed,
He has
like,
faith now
the
too,
whole
right?
dynamics of our household where we already had a good relationship. And I was just like, wow, I didn't realize how like screwed up it was. Like, until like we really started, living the way I feel like we should be. So it made everything that was already good 10 times better. And it made a difference, like with the way we raised our children as well. Like I understand why my children are who they are and why I'm their mother. Like I understand that completely right now because of the work that we do and, and things like that. So,
Now,
you know, it,
how has it changed since he found faith?
oh my God, I don't even know where to start. I don't even
A
know where to
lot,
start.
big, huh?
Yeah, just like him spiritually, like the way like he speaks to people, not even like not that he was never a rude person anyway,
Right.
but like just the way he speaks to people, the way he's more in gratitude, he appreciates like the small things. He said like he's never the type of person to say I love you. He shows you with action
Okay.
like how much he cares and what he does
Well,
and
the Bible says that's the
but
way you're supposed to do it.
yeah, and and but he shows like he says the things he's thinking more, because he's like he doesn't feel silly saying it. He used to like make fun of himself. Oh, you want me to just say this or like whatever, but it's always a comedy show here. But it's
Right.
just, like he says more of what he's thinking without caring about what people might think or whatever it is, or he has to be a certain way, or like he just he just doesn't care. Like I think he realized fully who he was. Now, just like I did the same thing, I
Yeah.
realized who I was.
Yeah. Let me ask you something. With I know your faith is very strong. Have you? Because I I haven't. I've heard, but I haven't read it myself. And excuse me. I like to think that I kind of know a little bit about the Bible, but when people on the other side will say, "Hey, being a medium, talking to spirit, and doing such and such, blah blah blah," that is devilry. I've
Hmm.
never read any of that, but I have heard it. Have you heard it too?
Oh yeah.
What do you
Oh
think?
yeah. There's I believe, and not knocking any religion because I feel like everything is pretty similar. It's just different stories,
Yeah,
like, attached, just like the same lessons and
it's all
different
supposed to be for
stories.
good, right?
You know what, I believe if you're, that's why I choose to say that I have a very strong faith. I do believe in God. God to me is just a higher power. There is something greater than us. I believe that. That's what I believe in. And I believe in just being a good person every day. And I
Without,
believe in, just being better than you were yesterday. And
yeah,
however you are able to do that, whatever resonates with you and whatever clicks with you, that you're able to do that, then wonderful. I mean, when my grandmother used to go around and do healings with the church, like she was a healer. She didn't label herself as that, but we all have that intuition, that sixth sense, like we always feel things. And, she used to do that. But then when I started doing what I was doing, she's like, you're not doing God's work. And, and I was just like, my grandmother was really, really upset when I first started
oh,
working like this. And she's prayed, like, I mean, listen, her rosary beads that she prayed with were probably like turn color from how much she was praying with them, because she was just like, she prayed to God every night that if this gift that I had wasn't from God, to get rid of it.
oh, wow.
And That's what she
She was
prayed
a
for.
deep Catholic.
That's what, yeah. And that's what, I mean, she would have priests over for dinner, like on a weekly basis, like she
Yeah.
was really into the church. And, they would tell her, and she would just pray every night that if this wasn't from God, to get rid of it and to not let me do it. And my gifts got stronger. So she really started to believe, that, this was like a God-given
I
gift. And
love
now
that. I love
she
that. She
supports me
wasn't
a hundred
closed-minded.
percent.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. She supports me 100% now because she sees that I'm evolving as a person. She still doesn't understand certain things I do, but I
Well,
think she thinks I'm a little
neither do
weird,
we, but
but
we're not going to say it's not anything but exceptional and incredible,
yeah, but you know
because we
what? And
don't
also
have it.
everyone has different things and different ways they look at it. So, I went one time I went to this acupuncturist, right? And it was really funny because like, they always call it like 3 o'clock, like devil's hour, or between some people will call it that because that's when like the spirits come to you. Like in my thing, between 2 and 4 is just when the veil is the thinnest. So we're able to have like a strong connection. That's why a lot of times if you wake up during the night, it's during a certain REM of sleep or around like between that 2 and 4 mark, because that's when the veil is the quickest. So like like spirit communicates with you a
Makes
little
sense.
bit more. And I went to an acupuncturist, and what she believes, it's very funny because we have certain meridians in our body and everything, like in our wrists and our throat and like just throughout our body, that like a meridian's basically a like an energy center where like energy flows through. And she says at 3 o'clock a.m. is where the throat, like in your throat chakra, your throat meridian is the most open, like the energy is flowing through it at that point. And it's funny because like that's where our communication happens with, and it can happen with spirit and things like that. So it just depends on, where you believe. Like for an acupuncturist or someone maybe who studies like massage therapy or something like that, and they're open to they learn about the meridians, that makes sense. So 3 o'clock makes sense for communication because that's where the meridians open.
Yeah.
For me, it's just like that's when at 3 o'clock is where the veil is the thinnest, and it's the best time to communicate with spirit. For some people, so it's not like I'm right or they're right. Like everyone's right, but we just have different stories.
Right.
It's the same
Right.
thing with religion, and I take what I want from every religion and I leave the rest.
Gotcha.
Like our solar plexus chakra, it's like right below our rib cage, above our belly button. It's
Okay.
right there. And that's where our personal power is. That's where our confidence comes from. That's if you get that gut feeling, you get either a
That
good feeling or a
that
bad
intuition
feeling.
is that's where that
Hmm.
intuition is. Okay.
Yep, there in our third eye is our intuition. But that's where you get that gut feeling. If you ever have a feeling in your stomach, like, oh God, I shouldn't do this, like that's where we get that. In a Catholic church, you walk down the aisle, they make you hold the bouquet of flowers right on your solar plexus. Like, believe me, they're trained. Like, I got so paranoid because I'm like, okay, I have to have it here. But, like you put it right there because they believe that it wards off evil spirits when you're getting
Oh.
married. That's what the Catholic religion believes. So when you put it there, they believe you're warding off the spirits because if you are trying to protect your energy, let's say you come in, if you're nervous about being somewhere or something, people sit like this, they cross their arms, or they put their pocketbooks in front of them. I used to have
They're
like
guarded.
well, I'm not used to. Yeah, in Massapequa, in my office, we have pillows on the couch. I put them there purposely. Not well, they look pretty too, but I put them there for a reason. I put them there, and then when people come in, if they're really nervous, they take a pillow, they put it right in front of that,
Yeah.
and they hold it. And and you can notice if somebody is uncomfortable or someone's anxious, they go like this and they don't even realize they're doing it half the time. They don't even know they are anxious, but that's when someone's uncomfortable or they're feeling too much energy, it goes right there. That's a known mechanism. That's how we protect ourselves. We think we're protecting our energy that way, whether it's conscious or unconscious. People do it.
So
And,
interesting.
and that's what happens. Yeah.
Really is
So I
interesting.
watch people, like when I sit down with them and I'm like, I want them to get comfortable. I told you last week, I talk to people, I try to get them to calm down. If they're sitting like this, once they put their hands to their sides, I'm like, okay, I can start my reading.
Right. Yeah.
So it's just like little
You
things
read
like
that body
that.
language. You tune into that, right?
Well, not when I'm reading, but like I read, like I could see how comfortable they are, and I want them to be comfortable because I want them to get the most out of the reading. So I'm not a body language expert, but I do know that, somebody's nervous or they're protecting themselves when they do this, and I want them to, I want them to open up so they get the fullest amount out of the reading
So
that they
would
get.
that all be intuition, pretty much?
Yeah, I mean, these are things that my intuition taught me
Got it.
along the
Okay.
way.
All right.
Okay, so it's not something that I'm like, okay, this is what I have to do in order for them to,
Right, right.
it's
This
just
is just what
something
you
that
learned.
this is learned behavior for me. This is something that I just learned from, you know, 10 years of this, this is just something that I picked up and learned because I'm like, all right, like, you know, this is just experience.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
Hey, you're such a great guest. I'm talking to Danielle Anatra,
Mhm.
and Danielle, can you take us out? Anything you want us to remember, and then please let us know how to get a hold of you so people
Okay.
can take advantage of your services.
Sure. Well, I mentioned this last week and I will mention it again. If you go on my website, I am raffling off a free reading this month. So and I'm doing the drawing on this Friday coming up.
Cool.
So, if you go to danielleanatra.com/free reading, you could sign up for the free reading right there. And if you just want to get a hold of me, you can just go to danielleanatra.com. All my contact information is on there, my phone number, my everything. So everything's right there on my website.
All right, guys. Sorry I didn't get to everybody. I know that you had people that wrote in, but we will get to you. That's not Danielle's fault. That's my fault that I didn't get to you. She wants to get to you, and we will. For this amazing guest, Danielle Anatra, thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.